thank you so much for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Dr. James Michael Burkett. I'm the president of Florida Technical College and the Dave School, which is an academic unit of Nuke University.
Can you tell us about your journey from being a Marine Corps veteran and former police lieutenant to becoming the president of FTC?
Yeah, so it's an interesting journey. While working at the police department, I began to do a lot of training. So a lot of training. I worked at the police academy, training in things like defensive tactics and firearms, and I did advanced training for other police officers, things like SWAT tactics, narcotics investigations. And as I continued to work, because I was a non-traditional student, so I was going to school while working, I began to learn that, hey, you can also teach academically. So I started off to have a transition of careers. Post law enforcement, my plan was to be a teacher, be an educator. So I started off teaching in criminal justice and crime scene technology, and eventually got pulled back into operations as an academic dean and then a campus president. And this opportunity presented itself about 7 years ago to lead a larger multi-site organization.
And what inspired you to pursue a career in education?
So I always really enjoyed it. I know how much education did for me, and that whole idea of giving back. And, my whole life has been some type of service, whether it was the Marine Corps or the police department or education. So I really enjoyed that interaction. Also, while I was with the police department, I worked with a diversion program called Teen Court. So for 7 years, I worked with Volusia County court system on that. So I had opportunity to interact with young people as well as young police officers, and I just really found a passion for education.
How has vocational and technical education evolved over time, and what role does it play in shaping the workforce today?
Yeah, so I think what's changed a lot is the stigma that's somewhat attached to it. Like, I think back to, from my time, the movie The Breakfast Club. So in that movie, you have the one character explaining that he's there because he got so upset because he couldn't make this lamp work, and he's like a straight A student. And the other person was like, "You're not dumb because you couldn't make the lamp work. The problem is you assumed that that was going to be easy." So I think that's part of it, like the stigma that's been attached with some type of a trade as opposed to like a liberal arts education. And I think that's definitely changing. We're seeing people have a different perspective towards that type of education and career.
FTC has a range of programs. Can you highlight some of these diverse pathways available to students in Central Florida?
Absolutely. We have a lot of different verticals. Our largest is healthcare, but we also have IT, business, construction trades, and hospitality. And each one of these has varying different degrees within each vertical. So they all have a diploma version, which would allow someone to get into the workforce quickly, and then the ability to transfer that into a degree to prepare themselves for positions of increased responsibility later in their career.
Vocational and technical education often emphasizes hands-on learning. How does this approach benefit students, and can you share some success stories from your institution?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way people want to learn has definitely evolved, as I think a lot of consumer behavior has, and COVID probably accelerated that. Now you can have your groceries delivered to your house, you can have a virtual appointment with your doctor, and people found that they really enjoy that convenience factor. Education is no different. So we've built programs to where people have the flexibility and can learn when they choose to, how they choose to, for the portions they can. But of course, there's some things that are hands-on. So we provide the opportunity to come in and do hands-on skills such as learning how to draw blood or how to wire something. So they get that balance. They get some of that flexibility, but then they also get that hands-on learning component.
Can you elaborate on some of the career pathways and how do they align with the needs of the job market today?
Central Florida is growing really fast. The number one problem we hear from people is skilled labor to help fuel that growth. So we try to partner with the community. So while we have 8 locations across the state of Florida, each campus is uniquely tuned to that market. So the program offerings that they have are tuned to what the growth is in that market. We have frequent advisory board meetings and interact with everything from the Orlando Economic Partnership to the different chambers to try to determine not just what the needs are today, are the needs going to be 2 to 5 years from now, and try to prepare that workforce. So by having these programs that are quickly adaptable and we can make adjustments and add different elements, an example would be our electrical and HVAC programs. we've added a component of PLC, which is programmable logic controllers. Those are the computer systems that control all these things now. So by having the students be able to be trained on those, they're ready for the workforce of today and for tomorrow.
FTC provides flexible class schedules. How does this flexibility accommodate the needs of students who may have other responsibilities like work and family?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like we were talking earlier, I myself was a non-traditional student. I went in the Marine Corps right out of high school and then went right to join the police department. And so while I was working on my degrees, I was working full time. I was also a parent, so I had a lot of responsibilities. So I think by being able to offer people things like blended courses, online courses when appropriate, it allows them to be able to balance and manage their life and be able to meet the responsibilities of being a caregiver, whether it's for a child or an elderly parent, be able to work. And while they're working towards a better career, they still have to be able to pay their bills. So I think that flexibility allows them to accomplish multiple goals in the most expedient fashion possible.
In your role as president, how does FTC engage with the local community to promote volunteerism and community involvement?
Yeah, so this was one of my passion projects. So 7 years ago when I started, we began a program called FTC Cares and really getting involved in the charitable and philanthropic efforts here in Central Florida. So from things of becoming trustee members of the Hispanic Chamber, the African American Chamber, being involved with the United Way, being involved with Second Harvest Food Bank, and countless other organizations that were already providing great service to the citizens here in Central Florida, and helping to utilize them to help magnify our message and help support their efforts. So I think it's incredibly important. And one of the things I believe about education, it's not just about those hard technical skills. It's about soft skills and learning how to be a great citizen and part of the community. So what we want the students to be at FTC is not only be a fantastic medical professional, construction trades professional, IT or business professional, but also a great member of the community and learn how to give back and how important that is and how satisfying it can be. I think a lot of people will find that's the area of their life that gives them the most joy.
Yeah, it's great that you focus on that, or at least include that.
Absolutely. It's extremely important to me personally. And what we've seen at the organization is people respond really well to that. They love it. Like you wouldn't think you would get a bunch of adults excited to go pick up trash on the side of the road in the morning, but they really get excited about it because there they can see a very visual representation of their impact very quickly. And we've had the store owners come out and thank them. Wow, thank you. This is so great that you guys are doing that. I think that makes them feel empowered and part of the community.
Given your experience in education and community engagement, can you share some tips on how to effectively engage men and women, especially those in middle age in vocational and technical programs?
Yeah, I think what we have to do is understand that we're lifelong learners. And that, I've had different career paths in my life because we have different seasons in our life and some things are more appropriate. So being open to learning new things, not feeling like you're stuck and you can't make a change or you can't change lanes. And that's what happens sometimes with adult learners. Like they'll think, oh God, I haven't been in school in 20 years. I was never really good at it when I was in high school. And you have what I call the dream killers. That's sometimes the people that tell you, oh, you don't want to do that. It's not worth your time. Because not everybody has a great support system at home. And not everybody has great mentors or role models they can turn to who completed a post-secondary education. So I think empowering them and helping them to have that belief in themselves and that they can do it. And the other really powerful thing that I see, especially with first-generation college graduates, is them realizing they're changing the expectations for their children and the generations beyond. Like they're the pioneer in their family. From that point on, it's an expectation that the future generations are going to complete a post-secondary education.
We mentioned that you also have the healthcare programs. Can you explain how a career roadmap helps students plan for their future career success?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll use the example of medical assistants. So medical assistants is an entry-level career in the medical field, primarily work in doctors' offices, urgent care facilities, where they provide front and back office support and some patient interaction. So generally, when a student goes and would get a diploma or certificate in medical assisting, it's what we would call a terminal degree. So it's for that one specific purpose, but it doesn't then build into an associate's, a bachelor's, a master's. So what we've done with all of our verticals, medical assisting being one of them, is provide where that student gets 100% transferability. So the way the program is set up, they would take a blended version of medical assisting where they learn some of the hands-on, and then the idea would be they would begin to work in the field. So once they secure that job in the field, they can continue on with their bachelor's of allied health management fully online to allow them to work and also take care of their family, and they get full transferability. So it's not 9 to 12 months of lost time or money, investment, or credits. It all go towards the higher degree. And in the higher degree, they'll learn new skills, receive new certifications that will help prepare them for those positions of increased responsibility.
What are some success stories or notable achievements of students who have graduated from Florida Technical College?
So one of them that is near and dear to my heart is Lieutenant Omar Barrio from the Kissimmee Police Department. So, several years ago, we had the horrible tragedy in Kissimmee where 2 officers were murdered. So we looked for ways that we could give back and honor their memory. One of those ways was we were able to enter into an agreement with the families and the Kissimmee Police Department to sponsor a full scholarship in their name. Omar Barrio, who at that time was a sergeant, was selected as the first recipient. He was a United States Marine Corps veteran, so that rang true to me, and a longtime resident of Central Florida. Omar wanted to be a lieutenant and go on to serve his community at a higher level, but one of the requirements to be a lieutenant was to have a college degree. Well, because he'd been raising a family, working, serving our community in the Marine Corps, he didn't have the time and opportunity to do that. So through the scholarship, he was able to do that. Not only did he graduated with honors, and Omar was promoted to lieutenant. So we were able to honor him at our recent graduation, and he's been a tremendous ambassador for the school and the community, and a real example of what is possible if you continue to work towards your dreams.
We're going to have a short activity. It's called Mythbuster Round.
All right.
And I'm going to read a statement, and you tell me whether it's true or false, and just give us a quick little explanation about it and why.
Absolutely.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Vocational education is only for students who aren't academically inclined.
False. I think what you'll find is those fields can lead to very successful people, and they're not easy. Similar to the story we discussed with the Breakfast Club. I don't believe in it being easy or hard, anything. We all have unique talents and abilities, and what's easy for me may be hard for you, and what's easy for you may be hard for me. So I don't believe that there's any field to where we can just say, oh, well, that's a low achiever, a low performer.
Vocational programs offer limited career options.
False. I think some of the most successful people that any of us know are entrepreneurs who've gone on to build their own companies around things like construction trades.
A college degree is always more valuable than a vocational certificate or a diploma.
False. I think that greatly depends on the credential, the school you receive it from, the individual, and then honestly, what they do with it afterwards.
Vocational programs are outdated and don't keep up with industry trends.
Absolutely false. It is probably the exact opposite of that. I would think most of your liberal arts degrees haven't changed that much over time, but things like construction trades, healthcare, these are evolving quickly. The curriculum, what they're doing, the different types of things that are effective are updated on almost a quarterly basis.
Vocational education is only for young students, not for adults seeking career changes.
False. I think for a lot of people, it's that career change because, it's a quickly evolving economy. If you go back and look at the 100 largest companies 100 years ago, most of them don't exist. A lot of the jobs and fields don't exist. So we have to be able to be nimble and be flexible and change lanes and learn new skills that are going to make us productive as the economy shifts.
Graduates of vocational programs earn less than those with traditional degrees.
So I would say that's false as well. A lot of this is based on the individual. You can get statistics from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but certainly individuals, a lot of it is what you do with it. I've always thought of a college degree or vocational diploma certificate. That's the golden ticket to Willy Wonka's factory. What you do once you get through the door is up to you. The credential itself doesn't guarantee you success. It just prepares you and gives you the knowledge, skills, and abilities to be successful.
Employers don't value vocational education as much as a traditional college degree.
Absolutely false. When I go to the meetings and interact with the different large companies here in Central Florida, the largest call I have from them is, I need skilled labor, and it's in these different verticals. It's in construction trades, it's in IT, it's in healthcare. So I think there's a huge demand, and it's just growing.
Well, definitely a lot of these are false. We have students who graduate from traditional colleges who don't even make enough to pay back their student loans. And then you have those who are plumbers, construction workers, electricians who are making way more money. And like you said, it's what they do with it too, because they could be entrepreneurs, create their own businesses, be their own boss. So,
Yes,
yeah.
that is definitely not your limiting factor.
Yeah.
A lot of it is what you do personally to help yourself to be successful.
Yeah.
And the opportunity exists.
And even with college degrees, sometimes they want certificates that are specialized in certain things as well.
Absolutely. What I tell everybody is, take a look at the person that has your dream job. Go on LinkedIn. What does their background look like? What degrees do they hold? What certifications do they hold? Now, I'm highly educated at this point. I have 3 master's degrees. I have a doctorate. I have a graduate certificate. But I don't work in the field that I received a doctorate in any longer. My doctorate's in criminology. You know, I'm in operations with an educational institution. So it's not always that credential that helps us to be successful.
Yeah, life changes.
It does. We change paths. We adapt. You find a new calling. And I think that's what's really important, is what does the individual do with it? I think they can choose a path. The credential helps them to be prepared for it. But the people that have an expectation that just because I have a credential, someone is going to ring my doorbell and hand me one of those big publisher clearinghouse checks, that's not how the world works.
Yeah.
You have to go out and find your own success. It can help prepare you to be ready for that success, but it can't guarantee it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's some good advice, especially looking at the LinkedIn, because that could give you an idea of where to go and how to build some of that, your own resume as well. So thank you. I really appreciate your time being here.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
If you're enjoying this show, please subscribe to our channel and follow our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts.